Welcome to New Life Live with Stephen Arterburn. For 35 years, New Life has been transforming lives one at a time thanks to the giving hearts of you, our listeners. Our goal is to provide you with wisdom from God's Word to give you hope and help in life's hardest places. If you have a question you'd like to ask today, our phone lines are open. Call 1-800-229-3000. That number again is 1-800-229-3000. Now here's today's host, Chris Williams.
Welcome to New Life Live. We are so glad that you are with us today. And joining me today on the show is JJ West, and soon to be in studio will be Dr. Jill Hubbard. So JJ, how you doing?
Hey, Chris, I'm doing great. How are you today?
I'm doing fantastic, and just looking forward to another day where I get to hang out with you, man.
Absolutely. It's always a treat.
So one of the things I love about the show is hearing from the wisdom of my incredible co-host. JJ, you're up to bat, man. Tell us what's going on, what's on your mind.
Yeah, so, lately I've been thinking about this verse from Proverbs chapter 4, I think it's verse 23, where it says, above all else, guard your hearts, for it is the wellspring of life. And I was thinking about this yesterday because we have a sunroom that we had put on many, many years ago. And when they first built the sunroom, the windows had these little tracks for moisture to go outside. Well, they were covered with these little screens, these little bristles, which worked for about 6 months. And then all those bristles went away. And now there's just an opening in each of the windows where all kinds of little critters can come into the house through these holes, multiple holes. And so I finally went and got some expanding foam and filled in all of the holes so that critters can't come in, unwanted guests can't come in. And there's a lot of places in our lives where we need to do the same thing with our hearts. We need to shore up these little places. They're not big. It's not really noticeable until the pest, the unwanted intruder, is inside. And then you notice, oh, that's because this opening is there. And so are we taking the time to go and examine the places in our hearts, in our lives, where there's just these little cracks, these little crevices, where danger comes in? And it doesn't come in like a humongous beast barreling through the door. It's just a little thing. It's like that TV show that just has a little bit of material that's not great. It's not pornography. It's not outright sin, but it's off, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe it's some of the jokes that I listen to and don't say, I don't want to hear that. Are there places in my life where I've got these little cracks that let these unwanted guests into my heart, and they're infecting this wellspring?
I think there is so much wisdom in that. I absolutely love that, JJ. And what it actually reminds me of is going through the recovery process, going through the steps, because we leave no stone unturned on our interior world. I think about, a crack of resentment that seeps in. Or it could be like you had mentioned, a crack of lust, a crack of, fear and scarcity that will tend to grow and manifest itself. And I just think of just one of the steps. Step 10 is I took daily inventory, and where I was wrong, I promptly admitted it. It's like when we're engaged in that process, we're able to, just like the proverb says and instructs us, guard our heart and guard the source of life and vitality.
Yes, absolutely. And it's so often in those situations, it's not the big obvious thing, and so we don't notice it because it's so much less than what we used to do.
Absolutely.
Right? The old behavior is really dangerous.
Yeah, it's not as bad as... we
forget
forget that it all starts somewhere. And it's just a reminder that we have the Life Recovery Conference coming up. It's online October 5th. If you want to know how to guard your heart and return to the vitality of your life, sign up today. Life Recovery Conference online October 5th. We'll be right back.
5 years ago, I had been in porn addiction, and I'd had a sexual relationship out of marriage.
Every day, men struggle with sexual integrity, impure thoughts, strip clubs, affairs, pornography. Find help today at New Life's Every Man's Battle Intensive.
It was the first time I'd ever divulged the sin that I had.
For over 20 years, New Life Ministries has been helping men regain their integrity and purity through their one-of-a-kind Every Man's Battle Intensive.
I found a confidential comfort that was able to put a flame to a start of a healing process.
Now the intensive is coming to Washington, D.C., September 20th through the 22nd. Register online at newlife.com or call 1-800-NEW-LIFE and use the discount code NLL to save $50.
Thank you, New Life. They're the redeemed man. Thank you.
1-800-NEWLIFE and the discount code NLL. To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back to New Life Live. Me, Chris Williams, licensed marriage and family therapist, also fellow licensed marriage and family therapist, J.J. West, and licensed psychologist, Dr. Jill Hubbard. Hello. And we are going to be on the program for a couple hours today. And so give us a call, 1-800-229-3000. We would love to talk to you. Our lines are open. If you are struggling with something that we can help you with, we would love to connect with you. One of the unique features that we mentioned is that we have this opportunity. If you can't be on the show live, you can't maybe go on hold or be available, you can write in a question. And so we have this thing on newlife.com/radio where you can go and submit one of your questions. And I actually want to start the show off with a submitted question. We had a caller yesterday, so let me give the context a little bit. So we had a caller yesterday on the show named Anita, and it really resonated with Chris and Franklin. She was struggling because, you know, she doesn't want to end the marriage. The husband is out, and she wants to continue. And Chris is on the husband side. Mm-hmm. And so if you want to listen to that show, you can go on our podcast or our New Life app, newlife.com, or YouTube, all the different ways to go back and get the context of Anita's call from yesterday. But he writes in, and he says, I've been married for 28 years. My wife wants a separation or divorce. Similar to Anita, which was yesterday's call, intimacy in our marriage has been non-existent for several years. They have children ages 18 and 22. They are in their early 50s. He would love to try counseling, not sure if his wife will be on board. He does recognize, he says, I've grown older, as I've grown older, I have tendencies to control. He's like, I'm not trying to control finances or activities, but his control looks like advice giving in all of these daily things. And so good recognition of that, Chris. And he also believes that his wife struggles with trust issues stemming back to her childhood issues or childhood experiences. There's just a lot going on in their life. They've experienced loss. They are becoming empty nesters. Obviously, you have changes that come in your 50s, whether you're male or whether you're female, and that could be menopause and testosterone differences, all of these different things impacting them. But he says, how do I suggest going to counseling? How do I approach my wife about counseling instead of separation and divorce?
Okay, well, I have a thought right away. He's telling us that he controls through giving advice, right? So he's really probably trying to control himself because he may be feeling at a loss, right?
Yes.
So let me jump in and fix things and tell you kind of what to do or what will work, right? Which we know that doesn't work.
Yeah.
Right? Wife has trust issues. So the more you start trying to fix her or give advice, the more distrust you're actually sowing.
You're feeding the wrong beast.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. So I think that Chris needs to own up to this, that he's really the one that feels out of control.
Yeah.
And that he's trying to control things by, okay, what can I do, right? Here's some advice. Here's what makes sense to me. And that he realizes that in doing that, he's in fact pushing her away.
Yeah. Oh,
and
that's
not
really good, Jill.
hearing her.
Yeah.
Right? And no wonder why her trust is getting stirred up. No wonder why she wants to leave, because she feels alone.
Yeah, that's really good.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in that, I realize, sorry, JJ, I need
No, go
help.
ahead.
I need help
Yes.
in how not to do this. Would you come with me
Yes.
to counseling so that I can figure out my problems with control?
Jill, I think that's really smart. You put the issue on yourself.
Yes.
Because that's
Yes.
actually where it is.
Yes.
Right?
Well, it's what you can control.
Exactly. That's right. We can't fix, change, or
Right.
control anyone else, so I need to work on me, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to start there. You got to start with owning your stuff, and in humility, right? All of that takes humility, but in humility to say to your spouse, especially if she has in the past asked for or suggested counseling and you've been resistant, you need to own that as well.
Yeah.
Right. You need, or at the very least, if you've just, neither one of you've ever brought it up, you need to own, hey, I realize that this has been an issue for a while and I've been unwilling to address it before, and I'm sorry. I'm willing to address it now. I hope it's not too late, but I'm going to go and do the work. I hope that you'll come with me, because I think that it will have an impact on our marriage. And I'm hoping that you'll be able to give some important information to the therapist. It may even be that we find that there are some things that we work on together as a couple, but that's not the primary reason. I'm going to work on me and my tendency to try and control through giving advice, through suggesting we do it this way and not that way. But I need to work on that for me, because I recognize my brokenness in this interaction that we've been having over and over and over. But that you're approaching it with humility, not from the perspective of, hey, we need to get this work done, so we need to both go, or even you've got some problems. It would help if you went to counseling and I'll go along with you.
Yeah.
Right? That's not gonna be a big sell, right?
Well, I love, JJ, how you always bring us back to humility.
Yeah.
Because that is so much of what is required when we repair, right?
And it's
we need to have that stance.
It's such a superpower.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the superpower of humility
there's strength in it.
is our connection to reality.
Yes.
It is the ability to accept truth as it is, and
Yes.
as it pertains to ourselves.
Yes.
Because as you said, Jill, the only thing that we actually have a semblance of control over is ourself. Yeah.
Well, and I think, too, to even, if wife, depending on how far down the road she is in wanting to separate, that whether we stay together or not, we are tied to, we've got an 18 and a 22-year-old.
I was thinking that exact same thing,
Right.
Jill.
Yeah.
We're going to be in each other's life
These
regardless.
issues are going
Right.
to be here, whether together or not.
That's good.
Yes.
So
right.
better to
Yeah.
work them out and then figure that out.
Okay, so I also have another strategy.
Okay.
Okay, let's talk about control issues.
Okay. Okay, Chris, do you know anything about that?
I know a few things about control issues. But I'm thinking also that this couple is a great candidate for the intimacy and marriage workshop. You know? And so, obviously, I tongue-in-cheek control, but I'm like, how do I get her? How do I coerce a wife to go to the intimacy and marriage workshop? But I think it's the same thing that you're saying, JJ and Jill. It's like, put the issue on you.
Yeah.
Because that's, again, where you can start and then invite. And kind of like what I would say is like, listen, before we do anything, before we make any decisions here, would you be willing, again, to maybe get into couples counseling and just put it off until the end of October? But at the end of October, can we attend the intimacy and marriage workshop?
Right, because it would speed up the process.
For sure.
And like, even I don't want to go to our kids' graduation or our kids' weddings
Yeah.
feeling resentful. Right? I just want to clear this up and work on things, work on myself.
Yeah. Yeah. And JJ, what if they go to the intimacy and marriage workshop, what are they going to experience?
They're going to be able to look at some of the core patterns that have kept them stuck in the way that they interact with one another. They're going to look at those core patterns that really came out in childhood, in the families that they grew up in, that have just been repeated over and over and over. So they're going to get a chance to identify those core patterns in themselves. They're going to have an opportunity to learn some very helpful communication strategies. We use this thing from the How We Love workbook that Mylan Kay wrote called the Comfort Circle, which is a wonderful tool to learn how to communicate clearly, especially when there's an issue, when there's something that is getting in between us experiencing connection and intimacy. So we walk all of the couples through that. They have an opportunity to practice it while they're there. And they have a great opportunity to go with other couples, right? You're not just by yourself. You're with other couples applying the things that you're learning throughout the weekend. It really is a powerful opportunity. And like you said, it kind of fast forwards the whole counseling process. You get about, 3 to 6 months of counseling in the course of 2 days.
Yes,
2.5
absolutely.
days. It's amazing.
I can definitely affirm that. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
fantastic. Well, I just want to remind everyone, Intimacy and Marriage Workshop is coming up on October 25th in Dallas, Texas. You do not want to miss that. Again, if you want to register to that, you can go to newlife.com/events. And yeah, take advantage of it. Chris in Franklin, Tennessee, thank you so much for writing in, and thank you so much for caring and wanting to invest in your marriage so much, and also that humility and self-awareness. We greatly admire that, appreciate that. And if you want to call us, if you want to talk to us today, we'd love to connect with you. Give us a call, 1-800-229-3000. Anything that you're struggling with, we want to help you navigate, walk through with God's great wisdom. With that, we're going to go right to the phones. We're going to go to Columbus, Georgia, listing on a referral, and part of the name is cut off for me. And so, Columbus... Summer.
Yes. Hi, guys.
Hi, Summer. So sorry. On the screens, part of your name was cut off. Summer, how are you doing today?
Doing kind of stressed.
Okay, well, tell us about your stress.
Sorry, I'm a little nervous, guys. I've never been on your radio show.
No, that's totally understandable.
Just kind of a lot going on, like just trying to manage life and a lot of family strife, basically. That's where a lot of my stress is.
Yeah. Well, what's going on with your family?
Well, honestly, guys, like the caregiving duties, that's a source of contention for us.
Yeah.
Like my grandmother, Mita, she's like 86 years old. And basically, to put it briefly, some family members are doing more than others when it comes to caregiving. That's basically the basis of it.
And so, who decides who takes care of what? Is there like a process for that?
Honestly, no, sir. It's just basically, it seems like the majority of the caregiving duties is like my mom. Her name's Diane, myself, and then her sister, which is my Aunt Lisa. For years, it's been like that. We took care of the majority of it. And then the other family members, they just kind of pop in and out. So that's why there's like contention there, basically.
Yeah, yeah. And so what's the question for us? How can we help you?
It's just, I don't even know how to describe it. It's caused like a lot of rift, like it's family conflict. It's a lot of resentment there. It's like, it's toxic. It's very toxic. And I guess to put it plainly, like Mita, she's the mother and the grandmother, so she feels like, well, I'm the mother and the grandmother, and y'all should take care of me. So that's how she feels about it.
Yeah.
Because basically, guys, she when she gets sick or she feels down or depressed, she kind of goes into like this self-pity thing, like playing the victim. And then when she feels better, she gets like very prideful. So that's clearly a problem.
Yeah, well, and it sounds like two sides of the exact same coin. You know, well, the same self-pity is the same self-pride. It comes from the same. It comes from the same source. Usually, a source of insecurity or a source of lack.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is. Because she's had a lot of traumas in her life.
Yeah.
All kinds of traumas.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like she's basically wearing us down because we feel like, okay, well, we can't just abandon her. She's an old woman. But it's like it's causing a lot of like friction in the family because certain people aren't doing as much as others, and that's where the resentment comes in, or the bitterness.
Yeah. Yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense. And so, Summer, you hear the music, and we're going to head to a break here shortly. We're going to come back, and we're going to really help dive in and work through all of these hard feelings and these ruptures in the family, and what to do about caretaking for very difficult people. That's a hard task. I just want to remind everyone that tomorrow Steve will be back hosting, and he will have a special guest on, Max Lucado. Becky Brown will be joining them as well. You will not want to miss it. Max will be talking about his new book of What Happens Next, A Traveler's Guide Through the End of This Age. Again, you'll want to tune into that, and we're going to be right back with Summer right after this.
About 4 years ago is when I discovered my husband's addiction. I heard about New Life. It has been life-changing for me and for my husband both. It was direction when we were lost, and it was hope when we had none. The help that we received from New Life has been multifaceted. My husband did the Every Man's Battle workshop. We did the marriage weekend. We are avid listeners of the radio and TV programs, and I think those are awesome, wonderful resources. And, I think the people who support New Life financially are people that I'll never know. I'll never be able to thank them personally for the gift that they gave to us. I believe, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that their giving saved me, my husband, and our family from being torn apart.
To make your tax-deductible gift, visit newlife.com and click Donate. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE or text NLM to 28950. That's NLM to 28950.
I was sort of vaguely familiar that the 12 steps had some origination in the Bible. I found Life Recovery, and one of the things I liked so much was that it had such a broad appeal. It wasn't limited to just alcohol or drugs, that it was addressing a wide range of problems.
At New Life, we believe everyone can benefit from a life recovery experience. There are life recovery groups all over the country. They take place online, in conference calls, and in person. And if there isn't one in your area, we can help you start one. We have startup materials, leaders' guides, CDs, Bibles, and more, all with discounts available for groups. Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE and ask for Terry Ward. The 12 Steps have long been a great help to people in recovery because much of the 12 Steps' power comes from the fact that they capture principles clearly revealed in the Bible.
The 12 Steps is really a pattern for all of us as Christians.
Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433. We'd love to hear from you. If you have a question or a comment, call toll-free 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back to New Life Live. We are so grateful that you are with us today, and we are grateful that Summer is with us today. Summer is talking about a really difficult situation in her family. You have Grandma, who is needing to be taken care of because she is getting 86. So it all makes sense. But there are people who caretaking for them is difficult. It's highly challenging.
Well, there are people who I think actually gravitate towards the caregiving role, that feel more responsible to jump in. And usually if you look at a family and the different family roles, there are often members that overfunction and others that underfunction. And when the person that overfunctions steps in, well, the others feel like they don't have to, right?
Yeah, I'm good.
Why duplicate it, right? Yeah. Yes, and so there is a bit or a lot of co-creating that happens in family dynamics like this. And so whoever is doing more of the caretaking, I think, needs to look at what that is about for them, because there's a certain amount of importance and good feelings you get for being the one.
Yes.
Right? And you can almost be a little self-righteous towards the others who aren't stepping in. And so to look at what would it look like if they stepped back a bit and allowed room for others to step in.
Oh, that's really good. Of like, hey, what does it look like for other people? Because I think what you said there, Jill, is really important. Is like, by me stepping in, I have taught other people what I'm doing and what they don't have to do.
Right.
Yeah.
They're not needed. Like, I envision, like, whoever is the main caregiver to say, you know what, I'm going out of town.
Yes.
Hey, sister, brother, or whoever, would you mind taking
Stepping
over
in
while I'm gone?
Yeah.
And just literally being gone so that the buck stops at someone else so they can start to participate a little bit more.
Oh, that's good. That's really good.
And
JJ,
it
what do
may
you think?
require actually having like a family meeting with all of the siblings, all the people who could be involved in the caregiving, to sit down together and say, hey, we need to have a discussion around how we will divide the work that's needed to be done, how we'll divide it. And then I may need, if I'm one of the over providers, I may need to say, hey, I realize I have taken on too much of the responsibility. That's not allowed you guys to step in some ways. And so I'm going to step back, but we need to have a plan where all of us have a role. And there may be some people who physically can't be there. Maybe they live in another town and they physically can't be there to help drive grandma to the store or whatever. But what can they do? Are there financial ways that they can support? Are there, like you said, are there times where they can come in and provide respite on a weekend, that sort of thing? But it would need to have a conversation. And then I think it's important, as you said, for those who have been in the larger role of caregiving, whenever I am offering service out of my own strength, I run the risk of being resentful because it's not received well. It didn't go the way that I planned. I'm not getting kudos from the rest of the group, whatever. If instead I am offering service to others out of the overflow, God has given me everything I need for life and godliness in this present age. And then out of the overflow of that, everything, I'm full. There's extra, right? That's being poured out over the rim. When I serve out of that mentality, then it doesn't matter how the other person responds.
Yes.
They may respond poorly, but I'm still able to serve out of ministry, not manipulation.
Yes, serve out of my own desires rather than the control and manipulation of someone else's emotional state.
Right, exactly. And when I do it that way, it's much easier for me to recognize and set and hold boundaries.
Yeah.
So I may recognize that, hey, I can give this much. This meets the overflow, but if I go beyond that, now I'm dipping into my own strength and my own reserves, and that's gonna build resentment in me. And so I have to say no to the extra, and that's where other people step in and say, okay, I'll take that piece that you aren't able to do, right? And so we're doing this as a team, and then there's less and less likelihood of resentment building up.
Well, and I think, too, looking at grandma's expectations. So at 86, she could still be in fairly good condition or not at all. And so what is her capacity and what are her expectations? Yes, she's saying, okay, you all should take care of me because I took care of you. Yeah, that's true, but it never fully equals out, right?
Yeah.
We parents always give more than the kids are ever going to give.
Just how it's set up.
It just is that way. And so, maybe there are times when grandma can do something with a friend.
Yeah.
Or a friend can come to visit. And does it have to be 24/7?
There's more people involved in the caretaking. And this also goes back to underlying relational dynamics that we experience in marriages and in families. And that is expectations. I love how Al-Anon says that, a unexpressed expectation is a premeditated resentment. And we got to get clear on what are our expectations, what are others, and what really are we doing here, as you were saying, JJ, out of abundance, not out of lack.
Yes.
And this even comes back full circle to what you opened the show with, is that we've got to guard our hearts. We got to guard our hearts against unhealthy and inaccurate expectations. And we got to guard our hearts against resentments that poison ourselves and the relationships around us. And so, Summer, we want to guide you into a process that allows you to take hold of yourself and your own limitations, as well as communicate clearly with others. We're going to send you a copy of Take Your Life Back, and we hope that will be a good guide in your journey. We'll be right back.
I'm addicted to oxycodone. I've been on oxycodone almost 3 years.
Addiction affects millions of people every year.
I've been on it for a long time, and I need to get off.
New Life can connect you with some of the finest Christian inpatient treatment programs in the country that work with people from all backgrounds and beliefs.
First it was for back pain, and I was on it for a long time. And then I currently just had shoulder surgery.
If you or a loved one is struggling with addiction to illegal or prescription drugs, alcohol, or dealing with an eating disorder, it's time to seek treatment. Call us today at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. We have partner treatment centers all around the country.
Alcoholism and drug addiction is a family disease. It doesn't affect just the individual.
Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433, or visit us online at newlife.com. 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Daniel Grossman on coaching.
Coaches are really focused on the future and helping people to develop those skills and those strategies to help them move forward in their life. A coach really partners with you to focus on things like personal growth or health goals, spiritual growth, helping you develop in your career, or possibly strengthening your relationships, or maybe even breaking free from a negative pattern.
If you need a coach for life, your career, relationships, your health and fitness, leadership, and more, call New Life today and ask about the New Life Coaching Network. Our coaches have been screened and certified with the same intensive process we use for our network counselors.
Coaches use different techniques. Some like to use strategic questions and accountability, ultimately empowering you to take those next steps towards your goals.
Take control of your life and take action to achieve your goals. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE and talk to us about getting a New Life coach today.
I really believe that everyone can use a coach in their corner.
1-800-NEW-LIFE. We're glad you joined us for New Life Live. To be a part of the program, call 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back to New Life Live. Again, we are glad that you are with us. Myself, JJ West, Jill Hubbard. We're going to be doing 2 programs today. So we got lines open. Give us a call, 1-800-229-3000. We're now going to go to Patty in Washington, D.C., listening on WAVA. Patty, so glad that you're with us today. Can you tell us what's going on in your life?
Oh, I'm so glad that you're with me.
We are. We're with you.
I desperately, desperately need that. I think it was a God thing that I listen to you regularly, and I'm just sitting here listening and went, call.
Oh,
so
yes.
I did.
Well, thank you.
My situation is I'm a mom to grown children, and I've even written this down when I've had to describe myself, but I've had some pretty impressive professional positions, you know, teacher, social worker, some stuff that's pretty okay. And I would say they're very nice, but the best thing I've ever done with my life is have my children.
Amen.
Well, I don't feel that way today.
All right. It's one of those days. Yep.
I really, really don't. I'm the mom of 5. I have 4 here on Earth. My youngest son died of fentanyl. He had been involved in heroin. He'd been to rehab and all that. And when he died, his little 2-year-old son attended the funeral. I have a picture of this little 2-year-old looking up at his daddy's remains.
Oh, my goodness.
And so I now, fast forward, this little 2-year-old just turned 8. And he's with me, with Grammy. He lives out in Seattle, but he's back here on the East Coast with Grammy, and I adore him, and I know that I feel closer to his dad and all that. However, my eldest is the only one who lives close by. He's single, no children, very, very protective of Mom, and we're good friends, and I'm grateful to him, and I adore him. But I think he also had issues with my little guy's dad, because he was not a nice person when he was on drugs.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I'm sure you know that. And he did some things that hurt me. And he has a twin sister who is, anyhow. So we were out to dinner with the little guy visiting, and my eldest was there. And the little guy is great in the house with me. He's wonderful, but he can be a pill when we're out. He just, if he's not happy, he'll get up and wander away from the table in a restaurant.
Yeah.
Well, what he did, you know, an 8-year-old, he doesn't know what a rude, hateful expression, sorry, but giving somebody the finger. Well, my 8-year-old thought it was cool, I assume. I don't know where he learned it. He did that, and my son practically jumped out of his seat and grabbed this little guy. And I'm like torn. And okay, I think, and then my daughter, who has not been, I could tell you I have some normal children, but I'm talking about the ones who are the challenges.
Well, and Patty, if I can get you to, like, what is the core issue that's happening with your kids?
Okay, I guess my thought, I'm a grandma, so I'm older. I'm healthy as far as I know, but you know what I've been picturing today? My funeral, and all my dear beloved friends at church, and people go, oh, Patty was wonderful, Patty did this, Patty did this. You know what I'm picturing? A bar brawl with my children.
Oh, so there is a lot of fighting between your children. Or conflict with your children?
Well, they don't even live in the same places. Like today, the eldest and the youngest, who is the daughter.
Yeah.
And she said she was going to call him, and that'll just really hurt my life. And I'm thinking the eldest is my executor, and the only one I really need an executor for is the little guy. The others will get whatever. And I've been thinking of changing the executor because he doesn't seem to like him, or he's got issues with him.
For sure.
But it would really hurt him deeply if I did that.
Well, in trying to make these really, really important end-of-life decisions, there is something underneath going on, and that is some deep hurt and conflict going on with your kids that this is bringing up. And so, Patty, what's the question for us? How can we help you?
I'll make it all go away. How do you like that?
Oh, I wish I had that magic wand. I wish I did. I would love to do that for you.
I want them to get along, at least superficially. They don't live near each other. This conversation with my daughter this morning, she said, I'm going to call him. He's been hateful to the grandson.
Yeah. So
and then I called her. Go ahead.
So she just wants to keep the conflict going. So JJ, where does Patty go from here?
Oh, wow. Well, there's a lot going on, obviously, and it's really challenging. I think where you start is in trying to understand what is driving your oldest son's behavior, specifically toward this little 8-year-old. And I don't know, since I've not met the guy. I've never spent time with him. But
his dad, my 8-year-old's dad, the one who passed away, was terrible when he'd gotten into heroin.
Yeah. No, I get that. What I think,
things that hurt me.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Well,
and he's still holding on to
this. Is my protector.
Right. So your son is viewing the 8-year-old through the lens of his younger brother, who did so many horrible things to you, and he's allowing the anxiety of this 8-year-old following in his father's footsteps, and probably even in his interactions with other siblings, that he is feeling like he has to be in this role of protector, making sure that nothing bad happens to mom. And that's coming out of his good heart, okay? His good heart is that he doesn't want to see bad things happen to his mom, and he doesn't want to see bad things come by the hands of the other people that he loves, right? So it's coming out of his good heart. It's just that so often our good hearts get us in trouble. And I think that's what's happening here, is that his good heart is getting him in trouble, and it's causing him to interact, especially with the 8-year-old, in ways that aren't healthy. And so part of what could happen, and I don't know all the ins and outs, it's going to be a multi-step process. So it's going to require more than we can even address, in this short call on the radio. But at least it will include, I think, having an honest conversation with your oldest son to sit down with him and say, I want you to know how much I love you and how much I appreciate the way that you love me. I see you always wanting to protect me. I see you always wanting to intervene so that I don't encounter, harm or pain or whatever. And I want you to know how much I appreciate your heart toward me. But I also need you to know that there's some places where it's not your job to do that. As much as I love you wanting to do that, I love your heart in that, I want you to know that it's not your responsibility to protect me from all harm, right? And then also for him to be able to maybe do some work on why he is not allowing this little 8-year-old to be an 8-year-old, but instead is kind of advancing him to a 20 or 30-something-year-old and expecting a level of responsibility and maturity that this 8-year-old couldn't possibly have. But that would be work for your son to do. But I would start with you being able to have that honest conversation and to then be able to say, there's some changes that I need to make. And I'm concerned about how it's going to come across to you. And that's why I want to have a conversation with you ahead of time. So you understand my heart. When I make these changes, it's not to hurt you. It's not to insult you. It's not to bring you down. It's to hopefully set us up as a family where we have better communication and better relationships overall.
Yeah, that's good.
Well, so I think perhaps just first on the last point about maybe changing your son out, I might consider just adding a second person instead of changing him out, because two people then creates a balance and accountability in terms of following your wishes as they're spelled out. I love what JJ was saying, Patty, and I think a continuation of that might be, son, I really want to hear about your hurt from your brother. Would you be willing? I want to listen and I want to hear, because I think there's a lot of hurt there. And Patty, I think the hurt that he's feeling from his brother is being projected onto this little boy. Yeah. And so in hearing his hurt, that may be an opening to say, maybe some work needs to be done here so that you can separate out son, the little boy from father, from your brother, and the fear that your brother is still hurting me from the grave.
And I just think that the most important thing to piggyback on all of that is exactly what you guys are saying. And Patty, that is to make your intentions clear. Your desire at this phase of your life is for your children to get along well. And what do we need to do to resolve some of this conflict? Patty, we thank you so much for calling in, because this is unfortunately too common of an experience that we need help with, and we need these honest conversations. And we're going to be back right after this.
We all face days where life throws us a curveball and our routines or plans get disrupted. Things we wanted to do are forced to take a backseat to the unexpected demands of the day. If you normally listen to New Life Live on a radio station, well, you might not be able to that day. And on these hectic days when you're feeling stressed or frazzled, hearing the sound of counsel given on New Life Live is just what you need to navigate the unexpected things of life.
Every time I'm troubled or I have a problem, I'll cut on New Life, and there's always something that is said that is helpful to me.
By listening, I have learned more than I can ever express about how God wants me to live.
Download the New Life app for the easiest way to listen wherever you are and at a time that's convenient for you, or watch the show on our YouTube channel. You can even subscribe to our podcast from your favorite podcast provider. You never have to miss a day of New Life. Wherever you are, we are. Club New Life changes lives.
You guys came along into my life in 2022. That was a really, really difficult year of my life.
You can help New Life Ministries provide Christ-centered hope and counseling resources to thousands of people by joining Club New Life today.
I began to really process a lot of things that I've needed to for a long time, and y'all were a very big part of that.
When you sign up to support us monthly through Club New Life, you'll make a difference in the lives of individuals and families with godly counsel and connection to help.
I came out of it having never experienced anything like that, and y'all were there.
Join today and help continue the message of hope to a troubled world.
I knew I had to keep going, and I joined Club New Life, and y'all have been the resource that has now been a light for my wife and I.
Go to newlife.com/CNL, and together we can help hurting people find help and hope in life's hardest places.
Keep doing what you do because it makes a difference.
newlife.com/CNL. To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back to New Life Live. We're so glad that you are with us today, and we still have another program to go. So we would love for you to connect with us. Give us a call, 1-800-229-3000. We'd love to help you work out your life issues. If we don't happen to get to you on this program, stay in line. We'll get to you in the next program. We've been talking with Patty, and Patty, I want to send you a copy of Jim Burns' book, Doing Life with Our Adult Children. And Jill, you had mentioned something I think was really important, and that was to...
Well, I was thinking that it might be a good idea for Patty to actually individually have conversations with each of her children to be clear on her intentions and to hear them.
Yes.
So that they feel fully heard, but also for her to be able to let them know.
I think that that's really good.
What she wants.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, Patty, thank you again for calling in, and we wish you very, very well as you work to resolve some of this conflict, but most importantly, take really, really good care of that 8-year-old boy. And that we're going to go back to the phones. We're going to go to Sue in Indianapolis, Indiana, listening on the internet. Sue, glad that you're with us today. How can we help you? Oh, I think did I just lose her? So I've just lost Sue. So we're actually going to go to Peggy in Los Angeles, California, listening on KKLA. Peggy, how are you today?
I am good. Thank you.
No, thank you for calling in. How can we help you?
Yes, I'm calling about my daughter. My daughter used to work. She finished college, even grad school. She had a good job, and living in another state.
Uh-huh.
And she was living an independent life. And then when pandemic happened, her job was more demanding and things were different. She became very stressed out because of the changes and the job demands of, during pandemic. And one day, she came back. She moved back from out of state and was working from home. But the demands of the job and the changes was so hard on her. One day she screamed. I was coming to her room. She just screamed. After she made that scream, she said she had a nervous breakdown. She said that she can't work anymore. And she quit her job. She even went to the emergency room. They said it was tension headache. She hasn't worked since then. It's been 4 years now. She's been home. She's not working. If she tries to get a job, she will say, I can't concentrate, I can't do it. She will quit. Even to work at the grocery store, she said, I can't do it. So she's been home and she said, she's depressed. Then she said, she's autistic. And then she just says all kinds of stuff and she's not even talking to me.
And Peggy, has she done any other medical evaluation since then?
Well, she's seen different therapists and every time she quits and she says they don't understand her. She's seen different therapists, even psychiatrists. She just sees them, online because that's how most of them have seen people. But then every time she quits all of them, and I don't know what to do.
Yeah, that's a very difficult situation. So the question for us is, where do I go with my daughter from here?
Yes, she doesn't talk to anybody. She has no friends. She cut off everybody.
Yeah.
Changed her number. Cut off everybody, even her dad. We're divorced. She just wrote an email to her dad and told him that he was a part of the reason for all the trouble she's had, letting him into her life, caused her to make bad decisions and affected her, that she chose the wrong career. She just blames everybody, and so she's just angry. She's angry at her siblings. Yeah.
Yeah, so Jill,
it's almost like the ultimate protest.
Yeah.
Right? She was like this achieving person who was pushing, doing all these things that we're told you're supposed to do. And she achieved all this. And then sometimes there's this realization, like, is this what all the hard work was for?
Yes.
And
exactly.
And so if you haven't been kind of addressing your disappointments, the difference between expectations and reality kind of along the way, and you've been more in this task-oriented, do, and then you realize the rewards aren't that great, it can be so disillusioning.
Or worse, diminishing returns. Like, not only are there not rewards, but it seems like there be punishment. You know? Yeah.
So it does sound like your daughter spiraled down into a depression, right? Where she has just foreclosed and pretty much given up, which is so hard for you to see.
Yes.
Does, she feels so overwhelmed and like she can't handle life now, which again, the complete opposite of what she used to be. That part has just been locked away. It still exists, but it's been locked away.
Yeah.
And she's in touch with all of her helplessness. What is she gaining from what she's doing right now? How is this working for her? I would be curious about that in terms of her awareness of that. And where does she see her stance now taking her? Because none of us tread water for very long. We're either moving forwards or we're moving backwards. It's hard to stay in the same spot. So I would be curious about that, because it's if she's just kind of gone into this helpless place where nobody expects anything of her, okay, that feels safe, and the stress is off.
She can scapegoat everything else. She's absolved from all responsibility of her own life.
But what kind of life is that?
Yeah.
Right? Safe is not all it's cracked up to be.
Yeah, and there may need to be some, hard realities for you to share with her that, okay, yes, if in fact you are mentally disabled from working, then you have to apply for disability in order to be able to pay your own way, right? To pay rent and buy food and utilities and those sorts of things. Or if you're not mentally disabled, then you do have to find work so that you can make your own way. And so there may need to be some really hard conversations with her around, okay, so what is your plan? Because you living here at home, not working, but also not pursuing an actual diagnosis where you can rely on assistance, government assistance, is not working for me. It's painful for me to watch you continue to shrink and shrink and shrink into this small person instead of being the person that you were designed to be. So what's your plan for moving forward? Because the current way that we're doing this, where you're just living at home but not contributing, doesn't work for me.
Well, and I think that's really important, because as we're coming to the end of our time together on the show, I think it kind of circles back to what you were saying to a caller earlier on the program, Jill, and that is we can only do what we can do. And that when we get clear on what we can do, again, what JJ was saying, hey, we got to work out of the abundance, not always out of a lack. And so, Peggy, this is going to require you to get really clear on what you're willing to do. And it's the way I like to. No, that's hold on. Listen to me though. Is that when you stop, as Jill was saying earlier, over functioning for her, she has to start owning her under functioning.
And if she's threatening, that's to keep you in a place of fear, so she doesn't have to do anything.
Yes, absolutely.
And some of that is you may have to call her bluff.
Yeah. Right. And so, Peggy, this is going to take some strength. I want to encourage you to get into some of your own counseling work. And we have a nationwide network of therapists. We can connect you with that. And we cheer you on as you're trying to navigate this difficult situation. If you have a difficult situation, you can help us. We got another show, 1-800-229-3000. Be well.
Thanks for listening. We hope this program has helped you by giving you insights for handling the challenges you face in your life. We want you to know that we're here for you. But you also need to know that New Life Live is a listener-supported ministry. To To make your donation or to get any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433, or write to us at New Life Ministries, P.O. Box 1029, Lake Forest, California, 92609. Please join us again tomorrow for New Life Live.
Thanks for watching today. We love helping people. I hope you sense that. And we know that there's always hope if you find the right resource. Now, if something we've said to somebody else applies to you, that's fantastic. That's what we're hoping for. But also, if you want to join us directly, you can call 1-800-229-3000 between 1 and 3 Eastern Time, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Those are the best times to get through. And while you're here on YouTube, check out these other videos that we've done to help people see where they could grow or a different path to take. And if you do that, would you give us a thumbs up on the video, and please subscribe to this channel. There are many ways that we can help you outside of the radio program, and it's very hard for some to pick up a phone and dial 1-800-NEW-LIFE, but when you do, we put you in touch with somebody who cares about you, knows all the resources out there, and they're going to find the best for you. There is no reason to struggle alone. I hope to see you tomorrow. Hope you'll invite somebody else to come and join that maybe needs just a little bit of help along the way. I'll see you next time.